What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and continue learning about different words that we use here in the US versus in the UK. Part 2. If you haven't seen Part 1, feel free to go check that out or stay here in Part 2. That's fine as well. But in Part 1, I started learning about stuff that people in the UK and people here in America have completely different words for. And honestly, I was pretty shocked at how many ordinary, everyday items we call completely different words, actually. Some of the stuff from part 1 really kind of surprised me. Like, for instance, sunscreen, or excuse me, sun cream. Sun cream in the UK. Never heard of that. What a random, like, why sun cream? Sunscreen and sun cream? We can't even agree on what to call that. How did that happen? What else do we have? Shot is a jab. Cinema, yes, in America it's very fancy, but it's just normal in the UK to say cinema and film. Here we're just barbarians. We're like, movies, I'm going to the movies. I want to watch a movie at the theater. And people in the UK are out there saying, at the cinema. I want to see a film at the cinema. Much more elegant, I swear. Flashlight. Flashlight was another, which is actually a torch. But torch means something else here in America. It's all a bit confusing, but really interesting at the same time. So I'm actually very curious here what we're going to see in part 2 of 17 lesser known differences between UK and US words. Let's take a look.
Okay, the next one is back in the kitchen, and that has to do with the US word cilantro. Now,
cilantro? Cilantro, like the food, like the vegetable? I'm not this may come as a shock, but I'm not the healthiest person. I don't know all that much about vegetables. But yeah, I've heard the word cilantro. Okay.
Cilantro is not called cilantro in the UK. It is called coriander. So that is one of those kind of spice name differences where if you were...
Coriander, it's a spice? Okay. This is like I'm learning both words for the first time. I've heard of cilantro, don't get me wrong. Coriander sounds like a clothing brand or something.
If you're looking for cilantro in a UK supermarket, you definitely are not going to find it. But if you are clued in and know that what you're looking for is called coriander here, then you'll be much more successful.
Okay, I mean... I don't know if I'm ever going to run into this specific situation. This is a very niche, but good to know. Coriander, not cilantro. That's probably the most obscure word I'm going to learn today. Okay.
Okay, the next differences in phrasing has to do with once you finish a meal and you're asking for something to... I'm trying to say this without saying, like, the different words that we use. Okay. You're looking for something to take home with you after you haven't finished your whole...
When you're done with a meal and you're trying to take home the rest of the food, which happens a lot here in the United States because our portion sizes are so gigantic in the best way possible. You almost always, like, are asking for a box from the server to put your leftover food in and take home. And that's what it's called in America, leftovers, I think is what she's getting at.
Meal. This isn't even as common in the UK anyway because the portion sizes aren't like crazy American portion sizes, but let's pretend. So in the US, we say takeout. And in the UK...
Takeout? Takeout? I don't know. Takeout is like when you go to a restaurant and order a meal and you get out of your car and you get it and you just bring it home. Like takeout. Like in America, a lot of people get Chinese food takeout. They just come in boxes and you take it home and eat it. I would have called this like leftovers or something. If you go into the restaurant and you eat some of your meal and you take the remaining bits home with you because it's too much to eat there, that's like Maybe some people call it takeout. Some people might call it leftovers. But takeout has like a pretty specific meaning in America. I'm more inclined to say takeout is when you go to a restaurant, you order a meal and take the entire thing home. But let's not get into semantics here. What's it called in the UK?
They say takeaway. So if they say
Takeaway. Takeaway. Oh, that I think that's in an Ed Sheeran song. Wait, this is all wait. This is all starting to make sense. I think I've heard takeaway. And Ed Sheeran is from the UK. Wait a minute. Cuz he calls it a takeaway pizza, which makes absolutely no sense to Americans. We just kind of go with it. Takeaway means takeout, like a takeout pizza.
oh, I'm gonna get some Chinese takeaway. Whereas in the US, we'd say Chinese takeout.
Yes.
And also, if you're asking in a restaurant for something to take home, we would definitely say in the US, like, oh, do you have any takeout boxes?
Yeah.
And in the UK, you would be like, oh, do you have any takeaway boxes, or can I take this away?
I'm gonna argue with her a little bit here on the definition of takeout in America, but whatever. It's close enough. It can, I guess, by her definition and mine combined, it's like any food that you take home from a restaurant, takeout. That's fair. And in the UK, it's take away.
So small differences in phrasing, but something you will immediately notice. Now,
Takeaway. That makes sense. Sometimes with these like comparisons, I try to decide, which one makes more sense. And in this circumstance, takeout and takeaway, I think both make sense. I think both are okay.
the next one has to do with sports. So
Okay.
when you talk about, first of all, again, soccer and football, I'm not going to go into that because everybody knows that
Yes.
Americans call it soccer. And
Yeah, well, that's a funny one because in America, we don't learn that the rest of the world says football and we're the only weird ones saying soccer. We don't learn that until like way late in life. It's strange. Like we have our entire childhood of calling it soccer. And then when we're like teenagers or even young adults, we just are hit with this mind-blowing fact of like, hey, everyone else calls it football. What you call football is American football, and no one says soccer. And also, our measurement system is weird, and most everyone else uses the metric system. Just so you know. It's like, we just learn how weird we are, and we spend our whole childhood thinking like everyone in the world calls it soccer, and everyone in the world uses imperial measurements, like inches and feet. It's funny. It's also kind of shatters your whole worldview. At the same time, it's a rite of passage here, though.
kind of the rest of the world, but the UK calls it football. But let's talk
Yes.
about some words to do with the sport. So in the US, we say soccer field or fields. We
Sure.
believe that they play
Field.
on a field.
Oh, I think I know this one. I think it's very, very UK to say pitch, the pitch, which is funny because that's a word in American baseball. Huh.
In the UK, they call it a pitch.
Yes.
So they say,
Yes, I've heard of
obviously,
this.
football pitch, but they are going to talk about the pitch. And they don't mean like throwing
I didn't know what that meant for the longest time, but it's the field. Yes, I have heard this one.
a baseball kind of pitch. They mean a pitch, which is a bunch of grass that you play.
Right.
Football on.
Right.
Whereas in the US, we say soccer field, and we
Yes.
talk about coming on and off the field. And
Yeah, I wonder where pitch comes from. I didn't even. Yeah, when we say pitch in America, it means to throw a ball, to pitch a ball. I wonder how that means field in the UK, or which one is like the proper word, you know? I mean, maybe there is no proper, it's just whatever you want. Either way, I don't think we're going to change it here in America anytime soon. It's just going to be the field.
in the UK, they will sub people on and off the pitch. So if you're ever watching football here in the UK, you will understand the lingo.
Okay.
Now, the next one is really an unknown one for the vast majority of visitors to the UK from the US, just because it doesn't really come up in your visit.
Oh.
But let's talk about what a soccer player or football player would wear on their feet.
Oh. Like cleats, shoes, shin guards? This is really specific, but I'm really intrigued.
So in the US, we call them cleats.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't necessarily call them like soccer cleats all the time. You would just refer to them as cleats, but there are different kind of cleats, like for baseball and things like that. And so
Yeah, like shoes designed with like spikes on the bottom and stuff to have good traction on the pitch.
they are the shoe with all the pointy bits on the bottom.
Right.
I'm not a super sporty person, so I won't claim to know much more than that.
I would not have thought there would be a different word for cleat in the UK. This just makes it like a nightmare for like buying stuff online as well. Like if you're Amazon, you got to figure out what the Americans call it and what people in the UK call it if we're trying to buy our shoes. I've never even thought of stuff like this.
Though I did play soccer in the 4th grade and I scored a goal against my own team, so that is pretty much my claim to fame. Here in the UK, they actually refer to them, and I had to ask my husband, they refer to them as football boots. So if you come...
That is not what I was expecting. Football boots. I don't know why it's funny. It's just not a word you'd ever hear here in the United States. Football boots. Because when I think of boots, here boots are big, clunky shoes you wear in the snow. They'd be ridiculous to wear on the football pitch. So I've never heard that.
Come in asking for cleats, they don't use that term.
Huh.
They're not going to know what you mean unless they're familiar with American terminology. They are talking about these shoes as football boots.
I've never heard that, ever. And I played a bit of soccer in my young childhood, a bit of football. Not till this moment have I ever heard the word football boots. That's really what they're called. Wow.
Another one that has to do with what you wear is in the US we typically refer to it as a swimsuit or a swimming suit or, oh, go and get your suit.
It's not called a swimsuit? Well, here in America, it's called either a swimsuit or a bathing suit. I think more often you would call it a bathing suit here in America. But I didn't know there was a whole different term for the UK.
And people would know that that usually means, especially given the context of get your swimwear, not get...
Yes, it's what you wear while swimming. Bathing suit, swimsuit, yeah.
Get your suit to go to the office. In the UK, they refer to it usually as a swimming costume or a swim costume, which has...
Costume? Swimming costume? Are you dressing up for Halloween and going for a swim? That's what that would mean here in the United States. This is one of the biggest differences. 'Cause just like a torch means something else here, and we call it a flashlight, a costume means something in America. A costume means like an outfit you wear for Halloween. It's like a big silly getup that you wear when you're trying to be like funny or go to a Halloween party. That's a costume. So a swimming costume sounds like you're dressed up as like a giant duck going for a swim, which would be strange unless it's Halloween. So this is another funny one, like football boots, because boots means something else here. This is really, really entertaining to me.
Has nothing to do with an actual like dress up costume. It's
Right.
just the way they refer to a swimsuit. So there's nothing different about it besides the words that they use. So don't expect that if you buy a swim costume in the UK, it's going to be somehow more...
Does costume mean something else in the UK? Does costume mean like just clothing, something more general? Because costume really means like a weird getup. Like getting into a costume means you're putting on a whole outfit that's making you look like a character or something. It must be different in the UK, a costume.
Elaborate or dressing you up like a different character, like we in America think of as costumes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next
Yeah.
word is also topical based on how hot it has been
Okay.
in the southeast in the past couple of days. So in the UK, I have heard a small swimming pool. So I'm talking like small. It's not a swimming pool. It's just like a small little pool.
A small swimming pool. Like that could be in your backyard, behind your house. A small swimming pool, like above ground pool, or like a small family pool. Okay.
They refer to it as a paddling pool, which is funny because there is
Paddling.
no actual paddling that humans can do in a pool this size.
Paddling pool? Paddling pool. I've definitely never heard that before. Why a paddling pool? Like you're paddling? Like doing a little doggy paddle? Like that kind of thing? In the pool? Because it's so tiny? Or yeah, paddle means something in America. That's like one of the main things I'm noticing. Sometimes the terms we use in America and the UK overlap in the sense that people in the UK use a word that already means something else here in America, and it just fries my brain. Just fries it. But that's okay. Paddling pool.
It might be that dogs are paddling in it, possibly, but everybody says, oh, time to get out the paddling pool.
Huh.
Where I'm from in the US, I really feel like we would refer
Huh.
to this as like a kiddie pool.
Okay. A kiddie pool. A kiddie pool is for little children. You can even buy them on Amazon and inflate them, like blow them up like a big balloon. You inflate a tiny little pool, a kiddie pool. It's for children. Is that what a paddling pool is? Or could like a family pool in the backyard be a paddling pool? I'm a little confused on this.
So we wouldn't say paddling pool. We would have them, but we would just refer to it as like a kiddie pool. The final
Okay.
word on my list for this video is a leash for a dog
Oh, a leash.
versus the British lead for a dog. Same thing. They
A lead. This is the perfect example. I'm glad we're ending on this one. This is such a good example of just a common, everyday item, so totally random. That thing that goes around a dog's neck is, here in America, a leash. You hold them by their leash. In the UK, a leash is not a leash. It's a lead. It even sounds kind of similar, which is a little confusing. A lead, because you lead the dog with the lead, I guess. Okay.
mean what you walk the dog on. Just in the US, we say leash, and
Yeah.
in the UK, they say lead.
I've never heard that either. Never. It's like I'm always thinking about English in the UK and the US is so similar, and then there's just the most random vocabulary that's different. Leash and lead. Okay.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, leave a comment below letting me know some different words that you've
Okay. That sounds like that's the end of the video here. Very good. That was actually super interesting and educational. I didn't know the vast majority of these words. Had no idea. This is by Girl Gone London, and I got to give this a like because that was very well done. Very nice selection of words. Totally random to me, which is kind of the fun. It's like the stuff I never expected, even like at this point in my life as a full-grown adult. There's still all these random words that are different between the US and UK, and it's so fun learning about it, and I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. Maybe I'll have to try to incorporate some of these interesting UK versions of words here into my vocabulary so that no one understands what I'm talking about here if I use it, but I'll be like, that's just 'cause you're uncultured. People in the UK would understand, and then they'll just shun me, and I'll be on my way. but with that being said, I enjoyed this very much. If you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of these word differences. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to the UK and UK culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.